It was supposed to be just another Saturday morning. 8-year-old Danny Brooks sat cross-legged on the carpet of his small living room, the kind where the sun peeked through half-broken blinds and painted dusty golden lines across the floor. He clutched a bowl of cereal too big for his little hands, and as the sugary loops threatened to spill with every excited bounce of his leg, he barely noticed. His entire world, in that moment, lived inside the glowing box in front of him, the brand new episode of the Banana Splits show. Bright colors, happy songs, silly characters in oversized animal suits, what more could a kid want? For Danny, whose world outside the TV was often full of shouting neighbors, an absent father, and a mother working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, this goofy kids show was more than just entertainment. It was a safe place. A little island of joy in an ocean that often felt too big, too dark, and too cold. But that morning, something felt off. The opening theme played as usual, the cheerful jingle Danny had sung along to dozens of times. Fleagle the dog, Drooper the lion, Snorky the elephant, and Bingo the monkey all waved from their brightly painted clubhouse. Only this time, their smiles looked wrong. Not playful. Not goofy. Their eyes, giant and cartoonish, seemed to linger too long, as though the people inside those costumes weren't following a script anymore. Danny tilted his head, spoon frozen halfway to his mouth. "Huh," he muttered softly. The show went on, but the jokes were flat, the movements jerky, and when Bingo laughed, it sounded less like canned joy and more like a growl that made the hairs on Danny's neck rise. The laugh track played anyway, but instead of reassuring him, it only made the silence in between feel heavier, emptier. Danny wasn't the only one noticing. Across town, in a quiet suburb where lawns were trimmed and cars sparkled in driveways, 10-year-old Sarah James was also watching. Sarah had been battling leukemia for the past year. She couldn't run outside with her friends anymore, couldn't ride her bike down the street without her chest burning. Most days were filled with hospitals and needles, but the Banana Splits had been her loyal companion. She'd memorized every line, every dance. Yet this morning, instead of laughing, she pulled her blanket tighter around her shoulders, her wide eyes locked on the screen. Something in her gut whispered danger. By the time the first skit ended, kids everywhere were unsettled. Parents glanced over at their children, confused by the uneasy silence that usually would have been filled with giggles. But no one turned the TV off. Not yet. Because surely it was just part of the show. Then it happened. Halfway through a song about sharing toys, Drooper the lion suddenly froze. His giant yellow eyes flickered like static, and then, without warning, he grabbed Fleagle by the neck and threw him across the stage. The sound of the crash was deafening, not comical. Fleagle's head cracked sideways, revealing wires and sparks beneath the fur. Gasps filled living rooms across America. Kids screamed, parents leapt for remotes, but the buttons didn't work. The show wasn't stopping. The Banana Splits weren't acting anymore, they were breaking free. Danny's cereal spilled as he scrambled back. "Mom," he shouted, but she wasn't home. His tiny chest rose and fell, panic thundering in his ears. On the screen, Snorky the elephant let out a distorted trumpet, no longer silly but bone-chilling, and chaos erupted. They weren't just fighting each other, they were coming for the children. Through the screen, through the stories they once told, as if their only mission now was destruction. But here's where the story takes a turn no one could have expected. Instead of turning away, instead of letting fear swallow them whole, the children watching did something extraordinary. Danny, heart pounding, crawled closer to the TV. Sarah, frail but determined, pressed her hand to the screen. All across the country, thousands of small hands reached out, trembling but brave. They weren't screaming anymore, they were speaking. "Stop," Danny whispered. "You don't have to do this." And in that moment, something remarkable happened. Behind the madness, behind the static and rage, the characters faltered. Bingo's growl softened. Drooper's frozen snarl wavered. Deep within the machines, or costumes, or whatever they really were, something remembered. Something buried. They hadn't always been monsters. They had been created to bring joy, to make children laugh, to remind kids that the world could be colorful even when life outside wasn't. The children's voices, soft, innocent, and full of hope, were stronger than wires, stronger than programming. Sarah closed her eyes, tears slipping down her pale cheeks. "I forgive you," she whispered. And somehow, unbelievably, her words carried. Not just through her living room, but through the broadcast itself. It was as if every act of compassion, every spark of forgiveness, every child's refusal to surrender to fear was rewriting the show in real time. One by one, the banana splits dropped their weapons of madness. Drooper fell to his knees. Snorky's trumpet faded into a soft, mournful sigh. Fleagle reached out, not to harm, but to hold. The laugh track returned, not eerie this time, but gentle, like a reminder of what they used to be. And when Bingo finally spoke, his voice was low, trembling, almost human. "We forgot what love felt like." In living rooms across America, kids and parents alike wept. The show didn't end with carnage. It ended with an embrace. With the banana splits sitting in a circle, heads bowed, singing not about toys or games, but about kindness. About remembering who you are when the world tries to twist you into something you're not. For Sarah, it was more than a song. In that moment, she felt stronger than she had in months. Her illness hadn't gone away, but hope surged in her veins like fire. For Danny, it was a reminder that even when things felt broken at home, he could choose compassion over anger. And for countless others, it was proof that kindness had the power to stop even the wildest madness. When the credits rolled, the screen went black. Parents hugged their kids tighter that night. Teachers the next week noticed children being gentler with one another, sharing more, laughing softer. Something had shifted. The banana splits had gone insane, yes, but in their breakdown, they had given the world an unforgettable lesson, that even in chaos, love can be remembered, and forgiveness can heal. Years later, Danny would look back on that day and tell his own children about it. Sarah would grow into adulthood, her illness eventually beaten, her life a living testament to hope. And though no one ever quite understood what happened in that broadcast, one truth remained. It wasn't about monsters in costumes. It was about the power of compassion to rewrite even the darkest stories. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real magic of television. Not the shows themselves, but the way they teach us, no matter how crazy things get, that we can always choose kindness.